Hello and welcome. This is a video I decided to make just as a PSA to anyone who likes farming old gear from old raids, just to show the limits of what you can solo as of patch 11.1.5. Most of these fights will be done with a fairly ridiculously geared marksman hunter, 672 eye level, Dark Ranger single target build, and some cleave talents depending on the fights. I'll describe as we go, but the point is that if you have a reasonably geared character, you could do similar. When it comes to old boss soloing, you can just there's two ways that it generally works. You just annihilate them with damage, or you out sustain them. As I'm playing a marksman hunter, that's really all about the annihilation. But I could go a little bit further on some fights by going BM. The fights that I am considering walls I cannot do as BM either. The fights that I'm doing as marksman are because I like marksman better, but BM would make it easier. So here we are starting with Aranog. Aranog is pretty free. If you have champion or heroic gear, you can pretty easily solo this on Mythic. Note, all of these fights are being done on Mythic. Therefore, if you think you can do this on Mythic, you can do it on the lower difficulties. This is a limit test, basically. As you can see, this fight is pretty simple. You go in, you hit your single target rotation, and you delete him. You just put him in the ground. You don't get to see his mechanics. We don't even see his ads. Speeding up because walking between bosses is incredibly boring. But one thing to note, the wing that I'm going toward is Taros, Senarth, Kurog wings. I actually think these fights are harder. As you'll see later in the video, these three fights are a little bit more intense than the path to the left. If you are doing this from a lower gear level, like mostly champion gear, maybe some heroic, like 650-ish, with a good rotation, you could probably get through the left wing, and you could probably get through Taros. If you're playing a good class for it, you could probably get through Senarth and Kurog too. But in this case, it takes a while for me to kill Taros. I get to see his mechanics. Taros isn't too bad. There's not really anything to say except you just hit him. He's another target dummy boss, thankfully. But he has a lot of health, and the fight takes long enough that I get to use True Shot twice, which means that it had to have been around 90 seconds. Probably around 1 minute and 40. I'm not actually counting. I'm sort of just talking over the recording. But the important thing is Taros is not just soloable, but he is fairly easily soloable with a spec that is not really designed for it. It'd be easier to show it with BM, where it is actually designed to solo stuff, but marksman's just you hit things until it dies or you die first. I have some defensives, but I actually don't think I even used them on this video. You see I'm at half health. I still have exhilaration up. I just pop survival of the fittest, and not even my second stack of it, just the first stack of survival of the fittest. I don't even feel like popping a health pot or exhilaration, and he gets his last mechanic. I'm nice enough to dodge, but I don't actually think that comes close to killing me. And Taros is not really a big deal. The first fight that is actually capable of killing my character, geared as it is Senarth. We should be speeding up any second now. And there we go. Well, I guess it took some time to look at counts. Right, for this one, I actually have to wait from... Oh yeah, I think what happened was I used AoE talent, or I used the same talents I used on Aranog for Taros, and I didn't actually go full single target. You quickly see me die there. Pretend you didn't see that. This is an easy fight, is what I'm going to pretend. But really, Sinarth is actually capable of killing me. The issue, so I have to do a very solid rotation, get decent RNG on him, even now. The issue of Sinarth is that she applies it's her tank mechanic. Basically, Sinarth is one of those bosses that has a tank mechanic that stacks forever. So the longer the fight goes on, the tank mechanic that is outdated by me being 10 levels above the content we're doing is not outdated enough because it stacks forever, and I am but a marksman hunter with no tank mechanic. Or I'm not a tank, I'm a marksman hunter. Eventually, I actually can bleed my own blood and just die, because this fight takes similar to Taros, about somewhere between 90 seconds to 2 minutes. The other aspect is if you're knowledgeable about this fight, Sinarth will try to pull you off the map, like she does right here. And as you see, I disengage to prevent myself from dying. I try not to care too much about movement on this. This one's a pretty easy kill, but I've been doing this for a few weeks, and the earlier kills were much harder, just based on gear. Currently, 672 eye level is enough to make this fairly comfortable, to the point where you get to see if you did this when it was current, you love to see it. The whole part where Sinarth dies before going to the final phase, because at 5% Sinarth goes to the final phase. Instead, Sinarth dies in transit on her way to her homeworld, and you have to spend a minute climbing the mountain to pick up your loot. Moving on to Kurog. Kurog is also capable of killing you. I found that if you fight Kurog, you probably just want to fight him on the fire side. If you take him to the frost side, you get permastunned, and that's not good. If you take him to the earth side, you get ads, which isn't really... Well, I mean, like, you're getting ads anyway. But I feel like earth and lightning are a little bit more movement, but it doesn't really matter. Earth, lightning, fire, they're all doable. I'm using some cleave talents so I can kill the ad, but I'm focusing all my damage on Kurog. Once again, the issue of Kurog is that he has a stacking tank dot that will just last forever. It will bleed you, and it does a lot of damage. Or at least it does noticeable amounts of damage. You can see my health bar. It is not full. It is very slowly, but still getting lower. And I'm using cooldowns to prevent that. Thankfully, his health bar is also getting lower. But it's still a bit of a race. Thankfully, as before, I am reasonably geared. This isn't the first week I've done this. But when I first did this fight, I had to do as BM. Now I'm doing as marksman. This goes to show that somewhere in the 660 to 670 range, with a solid fundamental grasp on your rotation, and you should be able to just smash this boss, especially if you're hero class. Similarly, you get extra time if you're a class with ridiculous defensives like Death Knight or Brett Paladin, I imagine. But point is, Kurog is in the list of bosses that are killable. Also, behold, solid disengaged gameplay, so I don't go into the frost zone. Then we speed up, and we move on to the boss that I do not think is killable in its current state. At least solo. Which is... Oh, actually, wait. We're going to the other week, sorry. Spoiler alert. I cannot kill Diurna. I'll explain a bit when we get there, but that fight was designed to have multiple people. Like, it was a fight where you had to split the raid. She has ads, she buffs the ads nearby. You have to split the ads. It's just not... If it's doable, it's going to be like... what was that fight? ENR in Legion, where even if it's soloable, it's going to be such a intense micro fest that only some classes can even manage because you have like a pet playing the part of half of a raid comp while your main character is also playing half of a raid comp. And honestly, I don't even theoretically think it's possible without some Rex Troy shenanigans. Just some crazy, clever use of game mechanic stuff. Oh, and I digress. I forgot we were not actually killing trash here. This is the council. For council, all you do is you swap to your AOE spec, and you do a close facsimile of what your AOE rotation should look like, and they die in 30 seconds because that's how that fight's designed. Even when it was live, I think there were like 2-minute kills on it. So it makes sense that having an obscenely geared character doing AoE damage would just melt it in 30 seconds. I'm pretty sure I had Hero up when they died. Now this is a fight that might surprise you. As it turns out, Dathia Ascended is actually one of the easier fights to solo, at least for a ranged DPS. Because if you're out of Dathia's range, she doesn't do her main tank mechanic, which is a knockback that will go further the longer you go. She does a hit that once upon a time would have deleted a tank, but is in that nice little sweet spot where it does not do much to you because you're 10 levels higher than the content you're doing. So the only way you can really die here realistically is you get knocked into the pit during this mechanic. But it's pretty easy to just run out of it as long as you're just at max range, and you just target dummy Dathia down. Which, personally speaking, huge catharsis, because this fight used to be the one that I dreaded reprogging, and every week. Not that I did this fight on Mythic. It was bad. It was just one of those fights where we couldn't consistently kill it every week. And I remember despising this boss for that. Especially since it was one of those... You have to split the group fights. You have to dictate specific mechanics every week. And then you'd have people mess it up, and people would fall into the pit, and it'd be awful. But nope, you just kill her like a target dummy, and you just get the loot that you didn't get one expansion ago, several years ago. Okay, moving on back to Diurna. I'm going to do one pull. I've done more than this before in other weeks, but I feel like this is a good example of why I don't think this is soloable. For this attempt, my theory was, what if I just kill the ads with obscene amounts of burst damage before the self-healing becomes unstoppable? And let's see how that works out. So we start the fight. I'm not popping Hero because popping Hero on Dathia makes no sense. She can't be knocked below 64 or 66% of her health. Every egg on the field gives her a buff that prevents her from losing 2% of her max health, and it caps off at 66%. So if she hits 66%, she stops taking damage. And each egg that dies will lower that by 2%. That's basically how it works out. And as a single player, you can't really get rid of all the eggs. So the first set of ads come out. I'm trying to melt this ad, and I get it to about half health. I'm about to delete it, and then I get stunned. And it goes to full health because her healing is ridiculous. She's just constantly buffing them. I get stunned repeatedly. More ads come out, and I die. Now, maybe I can use my pet to control those ads while I take Dathia specifically in one spot 40 yards away. But I don't really think that's reasonable. Moving on to Aberrus. I wasn't actually expecting to be able to do these fights as marksman, but I was able to do so. Hooray for weekly cash week. But here we are. So the fact that we're here at all, it shows that yes, we can solo the first boss, and it's not really all that difficult even. Like this is once again this is a gear check fight, It's not really, you don't really have to think too hard about the mechanics. In fact, the mechanics are pretty easy to deal with. You drop the circle, and later you get the beam. You run the beam through the circle, and since it's only one person, this fight actually isn't all that crazy, because the most of the difficulty of the fight was having 5 circles and 5 beams going off at the same time, and it being a huge mess. But no, there's just one person. The mechanic is beyond straightforward. Beyond that, it's just a matter of you DPS the boss and you kill her before she kills you. As you can see, the tank mechanic is actually it's another one of those stacking mechanics, but it's just a matter of, can you race the boss. It is worth noting I'm doing pretty solid damage here, but and I think this fight lasts. These fights definitely last a bit longer than the equivalents in Vault of the Incarnates, and that makes sense. This was a different raid with a higher expectation of gear, but it's not drastically different. Like, I think this fight was like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't think I got I don't think I got to use True Shot 3 times. This is about to be the second True Shot, I believe. I believe I rotated my defensive cooldowns once or twice. But as far as interesting fight mechanics, it's just properly do the beam mechanic, don't get hit by stuff, don't get hit by the frontal beam, and maintain your DPS while hitting the boss. Should be pretty simple to do with a reasonably robust character with decent soloing potential. Then we move on to other bosses. Once again, spoiler, we do not kill every boss in Avarice, because there's a few walls here, and they're a little bit earlier than you might expect. So I go AoE, wipe out the room, and then I swap to do to 2-target cleave build. I reset for hero, because of course I do. Here we go. For this particular fight, I opted to just go pop full cooldowns immediately on pull. For the first phase, you just need to get them to 50%. I believe the first phase is more dangerous than the second phase, so the sooner you reach that point, you are fine. As you can see, my health is already starting to drop. Actually, to a somewhat concerning degree, but like that, they're already phased. Then shortly after that, we go to phase 2. I do not recall having any issues with once we hit this phase. It just took a little bit of time to clear it. I believe the tank mechanic here is just whenever that wave goes out, it stacks. Nope. Looks like the stack isn't even there. Yeah, this is one of those bosses where it's more anti-personnel type stuff. A lot of things that will wipe you are not the sort of things that murder tanks. And a tank mechanic isn't lethal enough to kill a player 10 levels above the content that it was designed for. Which is nice. But proof of concept, this is a killable boss. It might be killable with your class if you're reasonably geared, if you know your rotation well enough. Not really going to be doing a guide for all 36 classes for understandable reasons, but case in point, I don't think Marksman is the most suited for solo fights like this, which is part of the reason why I opted to use Marksman over BM, because BM is one of those classes or specs that are utterly designed for this sort of content. And the point I'm trying to make is that I believe this fight, at least, is farmable for many. And I feel like this is a great place to figure out our damage rotation, because it's sort of like a single player challenge mode, not really intended to be, but you're forced to do some movement, so it's a little bit better to target dummies, and you have a goal in mind. Like, if you fail to kill it, that means that your damage isn't high enough, which is something that target dummies won't tell you. It gives you a chance to... So that it makes these a whole lot better than just a bog standard target dummy if you're trying to practice rotation. Though, if you're practicing your rotation, I would definitely aim for Aranog rather than Aberrus. Possibly even start with, like, Heroic Raid, or the Heroic iterations of this raid and Vault. Because Mythic is hard set to 20, so the difference between Mythic and Heroic is actually pretty significant, because it's not just the difference between Heroic and Mythic, it's a difference between 10 men Heroic and Mythic, which is sizable. I would say that it's close, like you're looking at 1/3 of the HP if you're doing it on Heroic, but at the same time, that also means you're probably not getting as much loot. Then here we have the Forgotten Experiments. You'll notice quite quickly that I am dying. The reason for this is that their tank dot does ridiculous amounts of damage, and for those who are unaware, the way this tank dot works is it just is applied to you and it lasts forever. The way you remove it is you run into the other tank once they have the debuff. Every melee attack applies this debuff. But there is no other tank, so I'm just dead. I think that last one ticked for several million damage. I do not know of a way to deal with that. You might think, well, why don't you just play BM Hunter and have your pet tank it? But for whatever reason, after my pet dies the first time, they will not be... I could not convince them to fight my pet instead. And even 3 stacks of the tank debuff was enough to be lethal. Also, for whatever reason, Feign Death would just reset the fight instead of have them go for my pet. I'm not sure why that is, but it becomes an issue on the other boss that I consider a wall. But here's the boss that isn't a wall. It is the assault of the fire giants. Because I forgot what their actual name were. And you might recognize this strategy from live if you did the raid. You pop hero and you skip the entire phase 2 by doing obscene amounts of damage. Here you see him desperately trying to heal while I hit him without my cooldowns. And you'll see that his HP jumps from 20% to 40%, and then starts going back down again. And the wipe condition of ads hitting the door doesn't really matter, because them hitting the door does lethal damage to people 10 levels lower than me, instead of what I currently am. So I just grab aggro on them, and I cleave them down while hitting the boss. It's not really a big deal. I feel like this fight's probably the easiest one to solo in this raid, though the walk to get to it is probably the most tedious thing about it. And as you can see, don't need to do the soak. The negative downside to this is, once again, he does damage that would kill a player 10 levels below me, but not a player 10 levels above the content that was intended for this fight. Still does some damage, though. But I could have played the fight more cleanly to begin with, so it's not a big deal. Here we have the trash, and then we move on to a fight that was once a wall in this raid, Rashok. Now, you might notice that I swapped to BM here for the first time in this video. This is most certainly not because I needed to play BM to kill this fight. Rather, it's because I knew for a fact that Marksman couldn't do it. So, look closely. He's about to do his tank slam. I'm going to use a very complicated strategy to not be killed by it. But first he does his soak. You can ignore that. Not a big deal. He's about to start his tank slam, so tank hit, pet's dead. Tank hit, I'm alive. So I summon my pet. Right after revive my pet, there goes my damage, but this is fine. Such is the price of staying alive, being able to keep on living. There's a tank hit. I feign death to reset aggro, and he ignores me and kills me anyway. If I could figure out a way to deal with that, that fight would probably be killable, but definitely not a fight that's killable by most. He overkilled me by 30 million damage, so I'm unsure whether even tanks right now will be able to kill him. Rather, I don't think that fight will be killable until they outright change it, or we are killing him in 30 seconds to a minute, which may be happening. If that happens, I would reckon that's a Season 4 thing. And only if we're looking at like BFA Season 4 type shenanigans. As for bonus clip, this is a BM attempt on the Forgotten Experiments. As you can see, my pets are tanking for me. I'm trying to stay out of melee as best I can. I summon my pet. And currently I am trying to run away whenever they go or stand still for mechanics. But as you can see, I have 4 stacks and my health bar is already starting to decrease. And they're not letting up. One of them my pet has aggro on one. I have aggro on the other. I can't get rid of it, despite my best attempts. The way that this fight works on Mythic, at 50%, the next ad is spawned, unlike on normal and heroic and LFR, where the next one is spawned after the previous one is killed. So here we are finishing off, we have all 3. Doesn't matter though, because I have a terminal level of stacks at this point. I think I died with 13 stacks, despite my best intentions, with the first boss dead, second boss almost dead, and third boss fresh out the oven, starting to beat up on my pet, who is also dying. But I bleed out due to dots. I feel like this fight will probably be soloable next patch, because honestly, this is a fight you could race.